always choose to talk.
We ask the question, what is needed in the world?
Iako nije odmorila od jutra, vraća se da još jednom zagrli glumce. Srdačna i nasmijana, strpljiva i čini se potpuno imuna na haotičnost koja je prati. Najplaćenija glumica Hollywooda, dobitnica 3 zlatna globusa i 1 Oskara. Smatra se jednom od najljepših i najprepoznatljivijih žena svijeta. Već 11 godina ambasadorica dobre volje Ujedinjenih nacija. Posjetila je izbjeglice i žrtve sukoba u više od 30 zemalja svijeta. Međunarodno priznata i višestruko nagrađivana za svoj humanitarni rad. Prva dobitnica nagrade Građanin svijeta. Glumila je u 37 filmova, a njen 38. filmski rad je produkcija, scenariju i režija filma U zemlji krvi i meda. Gošća emisije Recite Al Jazeeri je Angelina Jolie.
Ms. Jolie, thank you very much for coming to Al Jazeera and welcome to our program. As a UN Goodwill Ambassador, you have seen human troubles in all places of this world, the people suffering on all different levels. You have even adopted children from the places that have seen their share of troubles. Why choose Bosnia as a topic for your first directorial movie?
Because I felt that this conflict, this bloodiest conflict in Europe since World War II, was one that not enough people spoke about. I didn't know enough. And when I started to research, I was very, very upset by how much the world did know, how much was reported, how much we were aware of, and the fact that the world, the international community, completely turned its back. And I could not believe that that would happen in the 90s. And I feel that it is so important for us to learn from history, to remember and respect history. And then also I wanted to use this as an opportunity to show the talent and the art from a part of the world that I don't feel that people give enough attention and respect to. So I hope that people see the film and recognize the issues, but also are impressed by the talent.
What was then the main aim of making this movie? The artistic impression of it, or that humanitarian effort, that greater message?
Very much the greater message. I didn't want to become a director. I never said, I'm going to make a film, what should I direct? I just sat alone one day and I thought, I'll start writing, and I wanted to study what happens. I wanted to do a film about, I couldn't understand, how can a neighbor turn against a neighbor? How could people who know each other and friends suddenly kill each other and go again? How does that happen? So I wanted to do a film that studied people who at the beginning of this film they're one, they're friends, they're lovers, they're family, and by the end, they're so divided. And this is what politicians can do, this is what hate can do, this is what all these forced divisions, and people who live inside constant bombardment and constant, surrounded by death and violence and rape, it's impossible for them to remain the same and hold on to their humanity, and it's impossible us to expect that, and it's why it's important that we intervene in a timely fashion. In some way, of course, diplomatically if we can, and then with force if we must.
You have done extensive research to make this movie, consulted people who have been through the war. Now first the question, how would you now explain, what did you learn from it? What makes people, you said you can't understand what makes people turn against each other. How would you explain that out of your research?
Well, I hope that we've represented it in the film, in that it's not natural for them, but what starts to happen is somebody, it's this cycle of one, I think we show through the father's character, there's this nationalism from history, and you hear history, and there you're told this is what's best for your country, and this is what happened to my people 50 years ago, to your grandfather's people, and they teach their children this, and this is how you should view yourself and view others, because this is this extreme history that then will feed the next conflict. So what I've learned is that we have to analyze what happens, and so what we also see is that so many people, like the woman in the movie who loses her baby, in the beginning of the movie, she is somebody who could never hurt anybody. By the end of the movie, she's participating in a bombing, and by the end of the movie, that feels normal to the audience. Somehow, because what's happened, she's she's lost so much. She's seen so much blood. She's lost her family. She's lost her sister. And so what happens is, I think people were not able to. I think when you're surrounded by violence and war, it's very hard to rise above it and see the global picture. See yourself in the human scale. You start to feel like you are a part of this. You are surrounded, and so you fight, and so you, and I think that's what happens now. I think it is important for people to obviously think about their children and their children's children, and so that's why we must get past these divisions and this hatred and blame, and try to figure out a way to move forward so the children of the next generation don't fight again.
Ajde, reci. Znaš kako čoban broji ovčice? Ne, kako? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
What is the feeling, and what you want your audience to take out after they see 2 hours and 7 minutes of this movie? Extremely moving movie.
Well, I hope that they, this movie, the finger is pointed at the international community for not intervening. And I hope that when they watch the movie, and it's very hard to watch, and it's intentionally hard to watch because war should be hard to watch, I hope that they're sitting there and they're thinking, please somebody stop this, please somebody come in, please, end this. And as it goes on and nobody comes in and nobody comes in, so I hope in the end they are frustrated and they want to make sure that this does not happen again, and they pay more attention to the conflicts going on around the world, and they also respect the victims of war on a new level, and they also they identify. I think so often when there's crisis around the world, and we see it today, people say, well, that's happening over there. That's happening to somebody else. And they don't see how it affects them. And I hope when people watch this movie, because it's the 90s and I wanted to make characters that were relatable, I hope when you sit and you watch it and you think, oh, that was me, or that reminds me of my friend. I'm like that. It's familiar. So when you see that a bomb goes off somewhere in the world tomorrow in the newspaper, you feel that's people like me. That's somebody I care about. That's somebody I relate to. That's a family like mine. They love their children like I love my children. And you feel that connection that will hopefully move people to get that much more involved.
And you want them to get involved
yes.
in the conflicts today. You were mentioning this relating to events in Syria. How do you see it relating?
Well, I think Syria has gotten to a point, sadly, where some form of, certainly, where some form of intervention is absolutely necessary. I've been to Syria, and I was so, I thought it was a beautiful thing how many refugees from Iraq the Syrians had taken in. Those people I'm very concerned about now. I'm very concerned about the Syrian people. I know many people around the world are. And I feel it was only recently I was walking the streets of Damascus, and it felt so peaceful and so, such a beautiful part of the world. So it's really, it's so disheartening, it's so sad, it's so upsetting, it's so horrible what's happening. And it's not, I think so many people are, the politicians or the headlines, who's to blame, what's happening, why is it happening? At this time, we just must stop the civilians being slaughtered. So it's not about who and what and why, it's just we must, when you see that kind of mass violence and murder on the streets, we must do something. And I know that the countries in the region are also doing it, pushing as well. So I feel like this is a good global effort, but then there are these countries that are choosing not to intervene, and I don't feel, I feel very strongly that the use of a veto, when you have financial interests in a country, should be questioned, and the use of a veto against humanitarian intervention should be questioned.
So you think that it was a late reaction in Bosnia as well during the war?
It was horrible. I think the entire international community should be ashamed. It was horrible.
They should have intervened at the beginning.
They should have tried to prevent it because I think they knew it was coming. They should have absolutely known it was coming. They should have tried to negotiate peace talks and some way of diplomacy and early, and invested in it and worked with it and tried to, and then when they knew it got to a certain point, they should have intervened much sooner. Absolutely.
Coming back to the movie, during the shooting you briefly lost permission to shoot in Sarajevo, then after it was aired there were strong critics from Serbia. Do you have any regrets in doing this movie?
No, I think that that's part of the complexities of this region. You know, I think it's also beautiful that people were nervous in Sarajevo, and so they were trying to revoke permits, but those same people have seen the movie since and support the film. And I understand why they're nervous. It's a very sensitive part of their history. I think for Serbia it's difficult well, I wouldn't even say the people, because the people haven't seen it yet, so it's not the view of the people we're hearing at the moment. And I will be open to and very, you know, I feel the people of Serbia and Republika Srpska are very open-minded, very intelligent people who will make a decision for themselves how they feel about it, and they will not be told what to feel about it. So I count on that. And am I surprised that the people, you know, from this country where this film shows a very difficult part of their history and a dark part of their history are sensitive and upset? They don't want to be reminded of it. I understand. So I'm not surprised.
How do you respond to their critics or claims that it's one-sided, that the movie is one-sided?
Well, the idea of whether it's balanced or not, the fact is the war was not balanced. So you know, I could not make a film where it's 50-50 because that is simply inaccurate to what happened.
Ova zemlja je natopljena srpskom krvlju. I sad bi oni da živimo ovdje s njima po muslimanskim pravilima, u muslimanskoj zemlji.
Prepoznam ljude. Nekad upadnem u kuću i prepoznam njihova lica.
Oni samo se pretvaraju da su dobri susjedi, Daniel. Za vrijeme Tita skrivali su podmuklo lice i samo čekali priliku da razruše Jugoslaviju i da nas napadnu.
Ja sam srpski patriot, ali tu ne moram da sumnjam.
Jesi li? Što onda sumnjaš u naše metode?
A ti misliš da će svijet da ignoriš ovo? Ja ne. UN su već poslali svoje trupe u Hrvatsku. Oni neće okrenuti leđa svem ovome.
Ma naravno da sve vide, ali neće nas napasti, neće učiniti ništa. Oni znaju da smo mi pravi partneri za pregovore. Trebaju nas, neće napadati. Osokoli svoje ljude i dovrši ovaj posao. Nemoj da sumnjaju u tebe.
A ti, oče?
Ja sam Boga mi bio posumnjao.
You mentioned Republika Srpska. They said they wouldn't show the movie there, but one lady decided to have a private premiere in her home. She downloaded a pirate copy of the internet. How do you see her action?
I'm very, very grateful for it, and more people have done that since. We've actually decided to. We've talked to the distributor and to the producer to make sure that we could sign off on the right for them to do it as well, so it's not illegal, because we don't want somebody to try to go against them and make grounds that it's illegal. So we've supported them. We're very, very grateful. I think it speaks of the people of Republika of Srpska. We're not saying that you have to like the movie, but to have something banned is just not the way we live in this world today. We must be open and then judge, and I think they're really brave and wonderful for saying we're going to give it its fair viewing, and we're not going to allow someone to ban a piece of art simply because they think and they deem it inappropriate.
Usually movies are made either to make profits, win awards, or very rarely just for the message. Apparently here it's not a case of making the profit. So what would be your main aim?
Yes, of course, it's the message. It was for last night, you know. It was for all the people that I've met from across the world, all the Americans that I met that say after the movie, I didn't know. You know, all the people from Europe who say, I feel a bit guilty. I see this movie, it makes me feel guilty. I didn't know enough, and we should have done something. It's for all of those reasons that we made this film, and it's for the people of this country to know that they were not forgotten, and that everything they went through and we respect them for rising above it and surviving it, and we support them still.
Are you happy with the reactions in the States? This topic is not so close to home, so people can be more objective.
Yes, I was, because I think I think just to get this kind of a film out in the States, and to get people to see it's in a foreign language, it's not people they know, it's a very hard movie to sit through. I feel that you know, it was wonderful. It was really wonderful. We're very happy.
Znaš, onaj mali prozor u kupatlu. Znam. Kad popiju poslije večere, straža obično malo kasnije. Mislim da ima dobrih šanci da večeras ne budu baš tako pažljivi. Znaš, samo ti to govoriš. Zato što ako meni uspije večeras, treba da znaš kako.
You chose all regional cast. You could have chosen whoever you want. What was the reason for?
It belongs to them. This film belongs to the people of this region. There's nobody that could have done this film better, and also they happen to be the best actors, but they're from this region. And I also made a point. It was very important that we had people from all sides of the conflict. This isn't just made by people who are Bosnian Muslim. It's not just made by Bosnian Serb. It's not just Serbian or Croatian. It's everybody came together, and I think the actors themselves were very brave. And when they came together, it was a sign of unity and a sign of what's still in the hearts of so many people in this region that still remember Yugoslavia. And still in their hearts, they see more similarities than differences. And that is so important.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very good.
Good.
Welcome to your office.
Yeah, thank you. It's a little bit cold, you know.
As long as it doesn't hinder you when you slap it.
But then it can be very good. Da napravim dobar karakter, ja moram braniti njega i napraviti sve što mogu da ljudi u trenutku ga sažale se nad tom pričom. Međutim, ne može niko opravdati njemu to da sad u ime te njegove boli i nepravde koje je doživio se osvećuje na pripadnicima drugog naroda koji su nedužni.
The type has to be, we got to get the most out of our trees, get the most of him, get the most of our castle. So let's...
All right, guys, here we go.
Bilo je vrlo teško, zato što je vrlo pisna tema. U pitanju, ja sam rođen iz Sarajeva, ja dolazim odavde, to su rane koje su opet morali da se otvore, da se posjete, da neke stvari koje su malo zaboravljene ili zataškane, da se opet vide, razrade. Tako da svakako da je bilo teško, ali u isto vrijeme to je bila vrsta obaveze koju sam ja morao da uradim. Bio sam svjestan da će da ostavi taj novi ožiljak na mojoj duši, ali drago mi što sam to uradio, jer to je neki način nešto ja vraćam Sarajevu nazad što pripada Sarajevu.
Mislim da nemam pravo da budem razmažena glumica i kažem meni je teško bilo nešto igrati. Pogotovo obzirom na činjenicu da su žene žrtve rata preživjele puno gore stvari nego recimo od onih koje je moj lik prolazi u filmu. Tako da mislim da je to, bila mi je čast da to radim.
Ima, kako nema. Imaš prelijep osmijeh.
Hvala.
Nikad te nisam pitao. Šta si ti bila prije rata? Čim si se bavila?
Htjela sam biti slikarka. Možda sam bila slikarka. Jedna mi je slika izložena u Sarajevskoj gradskoj galeriji.
U galeriji, stvarno?
And what's the last question? How do you have now met all these people from the region, Bosnians, Serbs, Croats? We all have some characteristics and specifics here that we know, but how do you describe each one of us to someone who has never had contact with anyone from this region?
Well, I don't describe you separately. You know, I think, as I said with the cast, everybody is, there are different, there are unique differences, but at the same time, it's, this part of the world, former Yugoslavia, is an extraordinary part of the world. It's beautiful, the people are very passionate, they're very creative, they have a deep history. It's a wonderful place to be, in fact, and a spirit. We had something the other day when we were in Berlin, and even one of the reporters said to me, "Is there going to be a Balkan party? Because I need a Balkan party." And I thought, of course, everybody knows this is. And what ended up happening is there was a big gala, and everybody went to this big dinner with all this fancy people, and we ended up in this small, smoky room with a piano, and everybody sang songs all night, and it was the best place to be. And any artist that walked by, even Luc Besson walked by and said, "My God, they can sing. It looks like so much fun in there." And so I hope people also realize this is just such a special part of the world. It is fun and passionate and lovely and loving and yes, very wildly opinionated and strong. But that's it's a part of the Balkans, and it's a good thing.
Thank you very much for this
Thank
interview.
you.
We ask the question, what is needed in the world?